This week on Inside the Headset, we are featuring the San Jose State University coordinator of Beyond Football, Tobruk Blaine. Blaine discusses three key pillars of the Beyond Football program, shares the importance of impactful leadership, and highlights the value of pursuing personal goals. But first, a word from our sponsor. The All-State AFCA Good Works team has been one of the most esteemed honors in college football for more than 25 years. The student athletes who are nominated for this award demonstrate a unique dedication to community service and desire to make a positive impact on the world around them. The Good Works team is comprised of 11 players from the FBS and 11 players from the FCS, Division II, Division III, and the NAIA, as well as one honorary head coach. To be in consideration by All-State and the AFCA for a nomination, each player must be actively involved with a charitable organization or service group while maintaining a strong academic standing. Past Good Works team members include notable players such as Peyton and Eli Manning and Tim Tebow. Coaches, do you have a player that you think embodies the values of the Good Works team? Be sure to connect with your SID to discuss potential nominees. To nominate a player or head coach, have your SID email vince@afca.com by May 21st of this year, 2021.
Hey, TB, how are you doing today? Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. Good to see you.
Well, I know it's bright and early there in California, and so thanks for waking up early to spend some time with me. I just wanted to learn a little bit about the Beyond Football program that you're working on there at San Jose State, and just a little bit about you personally. You have a background in health education. Majority of your experience prior to San Jose State was been a director of cheer at multiple organizations. How did you get exposed to this, evolving world of player development and the Beyond the Football program at San Jose State, and what's inspired or been really fun about this kind of shifting career path?
Yeah, the inspiration came from two parts. First of all, in 2013, I got hired to be the program director, head coach for the mascot cheerleading and dance program at Boise State University under Mark Boyle. And at that time, that's when I sort of saw more of the inner workings of college athletics, which also happened to be the time that Last Chance U came out, or right around then. And I witnessed Brittany Wagner and her role. And I started to think to myself, oh my gosh, does this exist in other places? That also then paralleled with me. I was an Oregon State grad, and I followed Oregon State football and athletics as an alum, and I was a cheerleader at Oregon State, so I've always loved sports. And at that time, there was a transition in coaching. Gary Anderson took over. She wasn't a friend then, but she became a friend and a mentor to me now. Kayla Gross had been overseeing their Beyond Football program. So by me knowing that Beyond Football existed at Oregon State, kind of seeing what Brittany Wagner was doing through Last Chance U, that's when I started to recognize that my abilities in the coaching space could pair really well with my background in education. I was a high school teacher for 10 years, had just finished my degree in an ed specialist degree, so I could be a principal eventually. So that's kind of where my mind started to wander. And also Mark Boyle had said to me, would you ever see yourself wanting to get out of the coaching role and maybe work in athletics in a different, space, whether that was fundraising or somewhere else? And so that's when I started to see myself as like, could I do more and could I contribute more? And if so, what would that look like?
Well, that's awesome. And when you look at these player development programs, I think at every university, every college, even some high schools have started to implement that sort of role. They all look just a little bit different. And it's based on personality of the person running it. Sometimes based on budgetary, confinements or allotments, things like that. You have structured it in a sense where you kind of put your mission down into three major aspects: explore, inspire, and cultivate. Can you share how you settled on these three pillars to rest your Beyond Football on, and how are they carried out within a program on a daily basis?
Sure. I want to give credit to Kayla Gross, who was the foundation program for Beyond Football at Oregon State. when I took over at San Jose State, she actually moved on from that role and took a job elsewhere outside of college athletics. And so I picked her brain. And so she helped me sort of gauge kind of how to place the foundation. Then from there, just through conversation with alumni and with Coach Brennan, tried to evaluate what made San Jose State special. Where did we stand out in the areas of like off the field items? So our campus is incredible, and the resources that we have on campus is, of course, every college campus does, but we believe that what San Jose State has to offer is special. I also think that no matter where you go, college athletes need to recognize that being a college student, athlete or not, you have services at your fingertips that you don't necessarily take advantage of, and you probably don't recognize are even there because you're so caught up in what's happening athletically that, you have a narrow focus. Right. So that's where the explore piece came in. Is like, let's expose them and explore what they might be passionate about that goes outside the game of football, whether it's at San Jose State or with the Silicon Valley, which then trickled into Inspire. We knew that community outreach and this creation of like volunteerism within our culture was a priority for us. There's also a lot of homeless where we live. There's a lot of Title I elementary schools, lots of single parent homes. So it was a priority for us to impact the youth. So that's where the Inspire piece, inspiring ourselves and others through the act of service. And then the third and final piece is cultivate. And it's like, well, we expose them all this stuff and we get them inspired and fired up, but then what do they do? So cultivate is about the skills that can accompany those that will make them sellable when they are ready to move on outside of playing football, resume writing, branding through LinkedIn, networking, and being able to tell their story. That's where that skills piece comes in.
That's awesome. And that's, all that prepares them, for that transition that's inevitably happening at that point in time. That last snap comes, and I know the football team had a very successful year. Success comes with, great people in the program that are molding the young man, but also comes with having a couple pretty good players on the team. So you might have a couple guys that have the opportunity to go play at the next level, but ultimately, majority of those guys are going to be done after their senior year. And, these things are vital to making that transition, as so many student athletes tend to identify themselves with the athletic, with the sport that they play rather than these other things where they're exploring and cultivating and inspiring and being inspired as well. So thank you for doing that. I think that's super important. Sometimes even on this podcast, the stuff we don't talk about enough. Now, the San Jose State football program, like I just mentioned, has been winning on and off the football program, 2021 Mountain West champs. And then this is mind-blowing, a record 41 players receiving academic all-league honors, which is huge. How has Beyond Football affected the overall success of the program? I know it's a bunch of moving parts, but what role has the Beyond Football played in this transition to success for you guys?
Yeah, I appreciate you asking that. I definitely think that the leadership of Coach Brennan and his athlete-centered focus, working really hard over the last 4 years to develop a program that's player-led. It comes from his leadership. Beyond Football is a part of our culture. It's who we are. I am a part of recruiting conversations. I am on official visits. Every position coach treats me like I'm a position coach. My position is life. I say that all the time. I've been a coach my whole life. Like while I was teaching, I was coaching. I own my own coaching consulting company. At one point, I moved on and coached at the collegiate level. Like who I am as a person, as a coach. And so luckily from Brent's leadership, he has treated me in that space. And because of that, the trickle down effect is that the position coaches have treated me that way. And it's just a part of who we are at San Jose State. Our players know that it's a priority. And if they don't follow through with what they say they're going to do, if they sign up for an event and they don't show up, that there is a conversation. There is a position coach, myself and a position coach calling them. So yeah, I just really think that the leadership that we have and what Brent's built at San Jose State is all encompassing, with Beyond Football being a huge component of who we are. So obviously can't take credit for what's happened on the field, but I think it goes to show it goes to show that we are recruiting players and we are developing players that are bought into to becoming the best version of themselves on both sides of the ball. And that, to me, is what's contributing to the success we're seeing on the field.
Absolutely. Well, let me ask you this question here. Many coaches, I've asked this on a podcast before, a position coach, a lot of times his reach is only to, his immediate group, that constant everyday reach. The guys that you talk to every day are the ones that are in that position room, plus the few guys that you recruited from your area that might be other positions. But, beyond that, it's tough for a receiver coach to, build a everyday, we talk for, 20, 30-minute relationship with the defensive line or the third string, deep snapper and things like that, just because sometimes you don't have that exposure. In your role, you get to speak with all 105 plus from San Jose State, and you get to establish deep relationships. Well, how important is cultivating those relationships, even for us? I say us, I'm not doing it anymore, but the position coaches out there, how important is it to make sure that you meet and greet all your guys and know them as best you can?
Yeah. This is why I always go back to, I'm a coach. And if you take on my responsibilities the way you would in coaching, like it's the exact same thing. I can't get a player to buy into what I'm doing if I don't establish a relationship. If there isn't a level of trust and understanding and common respect, then I can't expect them to do what I'm asking them to do with Beyond Football. Right. The same way it would happen in the DB's room. So it's important for me, extremely important for me that I meet with every player. I actually meet with them twice a year, once in the fall and once in the spring. I have about a 15 to 20 minute conversation with them. It's very detailed, goal oriented. I put them, on the spot. I make them feel uncomfortable of like thinking about things that they've never thought about. And then the other piece of that is I go to practice. Before I had children, which I have a 2-year-old and a 6-month-old, so it's fairly fresh. Yeah. I was doing advanced travel for the team. I was on the road traveling with them. So they saw me all the time. Not only was I, a part of the culture of Beyond Football being the culture, but I was around. I was constantly active. How did you do on that test? How was practice today? Oh, I saw you, at that drill when I was at practice. Like it looked awesome. Like way to lead your team. The same exact way that you would in your position group is what I'm doing through Beyond Football. And that is imperative for people within our program to A, see your value, and B, for the athletes to recognize that you are a part of the program and that what you're doing is important. What I do is voluntary. No one's required to do what I do. It's highly encouraged, of course, and there's, definitely peer pressure of doing it. But we got to make sure that I'm putting on events that guys want to come to. And that's another big piece is I don't want to put on an event where they walk away thinking that was mediocre or I don't ever want to do that again. I want to knock it out of the park. So when they walk away from the event, they're like, that was worth my time. I'll go to the next one. That's
awesome. Well, clearly you're doing a great job with this. And once again, just mentioning the success off the field. And in correspondence and kind of reply to what you just said. Just want to make sure that it's great. And saying that you're currently in the process of expanding this beyond the football program to beyond athletics at San Jose State, as the athletic department is going to take this program on to all the other student athletes. Why is this a cool opportunity for you to see this expand? And probably a testament to what you've been able to do there. Thanks to some people that mentored you and helped you along the way. But why is it so important to you?
Well, I can't say enough about Coach Brennan. He is my champion, 1,000%. And I would not have the opportunity to build out Beyond Football for our whole athletic department if it wasn't for his support and desire to see, true, genuine desire to see this go across for all 500 of our student athletes. I mean, we support 22 different sports at San Jose State. There's a little over 500 athletes. Of course, I love working in football. I think that the work that I do within the walls of football is extremely important. Equally important for all other athletic programs, but obviously the demographics that make up those athletic programs differ. Right. And what their needs aren't always the same as what football or what track and field or what women's basketball might need. But coming from a space where I can recognize the differences I'm a teacher at heart. I'm a coach at heart. Obviously, I'm a female. I want to empower. I have a sticker on my computer that says "Empowered Women Empower Women," and so it's important for me that I make an impact with the women that see me in this role. I'm one of very few women that work in college football. I recognize that. Like, I have a unique space. So those are reasons why it's important for me. I always say that my reputation means everything to me. And if I say that I'm going to do something, I do it at the highest level. And so having this opportunity to build out Beyond Football, we're actually calling the program Beyond Sparta, and do it for everyone, just shows that our athletic department is committed to what we've always been committed to, but being intentional now behind it, of developing young men and women on and off the field to reach their highest potential now and in the future, so that they always are feeling like they're a part of our community at San Jose State.
Well, clearly the value of this is evident not only by the success we've seen from the athletes, but also by seeing that the rest of the athletic department wants to institute this. For these universities and colleges that do not have this program in place, that might be pondering about it, the importance of it, what advice would you give them about beginning a program similar to Beyond Football, or having a player development person on campus? What advice would you give to them to motivate them, inspire them to do that?
Yeah, I definitely want to make sure that I let people know that this opportunity to expand beyond football into Beyond Sparta, I'm doing on top of my regular full-time job with Beyond Football. So we are in a position currently where it's like, oh, you've been hired to do this. Now here's your new role. Let's go. And so the purpose of me telling you that is, it's going to take you doing something on top of what you already do, proving its value and its worth, for then someone to say, okay, let's create a position for you. My end goal for me personally, and I'm not like afraid to say it out loud, is I want to be an assistant athletic director for student athlete development. And we don't have that role at San Jose State. It doesn't exist. There's no one with that title. So I'm going to create it, and I'm going to make it happen. And that's what I think. If you want to do this at your institution, you're going to have to be really committed to doing work outside of what the scope is you already do. And the second piece of advice I have is pick one thing that you want to do. Don't pick 5. Don't pick 2. Pick one thing that you want to do really well, and then crush it, right? Less is more. So if it's getting your athletes in the community, if it's ensuring they all have like a resume-worthy resume to apply for jobs, or that they've been exposed to networking opportunities, just pick one thing and dominate it. And for San Jose State, that started for me. It started with community outreach. And that's where the ball rolled, and it just became a snowball. And that is how 4 years later, we are doing the things that we're doing. And it's pretty impressive. And I have to say that if you want to know more about what we're doing, you should be following me on social media, because we are really good about pushing out all the things. And hopefully it can inspire you to come up with some ideas that you could implement in your own program.
Well, you're right on cue with that. Tobruk, thank you so much, not just for hopping on with me for the podcast, but your dedication to student athletes. It's super important to me that we, as coaches, don't make these 4-year decisions that, inspire these young men, at least in football, and young women and these other athletics, and a few women that are actually in football as well. But, that we're not just taking care of them those 4 years that they're playing high school football with us, or those 4 years they're playing college football with us, but setting them up for success for the future. And clearly programs like this are dedicated to doing just that. So thank you so much for your dedication to student athletes. But before we let you go, you mentioned social media, so I just want you to drop your social media channels so coaches can, number one, keep up with your program and all the awesome stuff you guys are doing, and then as well, keep up with you in your journey as you continue to pave the way and make those dreams of yours become a reality.
Yeah, thanks. So Instagram and Twitter is San Jose State BF. My personal Twitter is Tobruk Blaine _TB. A lot of the guys call me TB. And then we're also on LinkedIn, San Jose State Spartans Football. And I do all of my, although it's titled football, I do all my branding related items to help promote our athletes through LinkedIn. So please reach out to me at any time. Happy to give advice or guidance or inspiration, and really appreciate this opportunity to share a program I'm really passionate about with you.
Well, once again, thanks so much, and hope you have a good rest of the day.
Thank you.